You have been on the council for over 12 years. What are some of your accomplishments as a council member?
Well, one of the things was a couple of months ago, I got mayor and council to agree to rename a park that was just only named after a street to be named after Elijah Anderson. Elijah Anderson was the first African-American city council member to be elected. And I'm a big proponent of proposing protecting black equity in our community and teaching the history. So now, we get a design charrette getting put together so we can come back with the family and dedicate this park to Elijah Anderson City Park. And I think that was a great thing for the city of Washington to do as well. Then we had the School Street Cemetery. When you looked on the county records, it only had it listed as Negro Cemetery. I felt like black people deserve a little bit more than to be known for one of the biggest historic cemeteries just to be named Negro Cemetery. So we had that name changed as well. We go on Tate Street. While I was on the cemetery committee, we was talking about signage and street signage, and I told them, I like what you want to do over in Rest Haven. I said, but let's talk about Tate Street, City West Cemetery, because it's only named by a street sign. So I sent Sherry at that time, and I can give her credit for that. I sent Sherry a design charrette of an archway, and the first thing she said was, that's going to cost a lot of money. But then when you looked at how much money we had spent historically over in Rest Haven Cemetery and never made a real big investment over into Tate Street Cemetery, well, City West, cemetery committee approved to put the archway over there, and now, when you go over there, you have a name for the cemetery and not you have to look for a street sign. Yeah, and also, we had a welding program that we brought here about 4 years ago, and my goal was to put the welding program inside the actual school system. I never did get the right traction that I wanted. And at that time, they say we can't work together, but at that time, I talked to Ames and talked to Sherry and both mayor and council. We had put together this money to invest into a welding program in the school system. Because then the only thing we had to do was bring in an instructor, because they already had a welding lab that was already over there. So I never did really get a lot of traction with it. So then I went to the Capitol, and with some colleagues of mine that kind of introduced me to the governor. And I had heard him talk that morning about the things that he had vision for rural Georgia. And I told him I'm from rural Georgia, and I would love to believe in some of the things that he was saying, but it just wasn't happening, right? It wasn't happening. And so, I got that commitment from his office that I was going to get a phone call that evening by 5 o'clock. And if I didn't get a phone call by 5, to call him back. And so relationships, we talk about relationships. We talk about, who can make a phone call and get things done. That's one of the things that I pride myself is. Whenever I'm in a room, I want to work the whole room. So that welding program was one of the greatest things that happened with the actual state. The next thing was, Parks and Rec, the kids in the summertime used to have to leave around about 10, 11 o'clock because it used to be just too hot up in there. And, I met with Sam and I met with Ames about, how can we get this done? And Charles Jackson, he played a big role in it as well. But we was able to, both city and county, invest $70,000 into having a HVAC unit put into the gym that was up there. So now our kids can play and they can learn and they can grow in a climate control area. And I love to see in the evening time when I ride by there and people still making use out of it, shooting basketball. So that's another thing that both, with me being on the city council and working across the line, giving and taking, negotiating, that we was able to get it done, and that was something that was big. I've been working with the Housing Authority for about 5-6 years about this redevelopment project, and it bothers me. It really bothers me that we haven't got as far as we have, with that project. But, you know, we're going to continue to beat the bushes and understand that, you know, find ways to get things done. And then the Gordon Street School. So Tina Hutchinson, who was with DCA, you know, I had talked to her a lot about, you know, how can we get an actual CDBG grant for the extra school, which is a community development block grant. And what a lot of people don't understand is that before you apply for some of these grants, you need what you call a revenue generator. So the revenue generator that was already on the design charrette, you know, before I came on council, you know, I just picked that design charrette back up where it was left off. At that time, Barbara Bacon, you know, worked with the city. And, you know, kudos to Barbara for all the work that she's done with getting the housing did on Russia Street, getting the infrastructure done on Norman Street, and, you know, just a wealth of resources, you know. So I picked that project back up, you know, because it was just laying there. It wasn't anybody doing anything. So I knew in order to get any money from the community development, from DCA, community development block grant money, we had to have a revenue generator. So I picked that project back up. Marcus Deal, Sherry, Ames, you know, we understood what needed to have done. And so we tried to make sure that the amphitheater had got created and got finished over there. So that way the community can have events that they can actually go to. URA could charge a small marginal fee and they could generate income. And so that would have made great for an application for a community development block grant. Yeah, and another thing is I've been working with LaTanya Goodman with WorkSource Georgia and, you know, trying to get WorkSource Georgia in Washington. You know, my goal and my vision was to kids that, you know, go into Athens Tech and get their GED and then go 2 doors down and be able to actually find a job. So go from getting a GED to going to get job placement. So, you know, that's been a big thing. And, you know, the state Department of Education now has this organization called Great Promise Program. And Great Promise deal with kids that are aged, you know, 15, 16 years of age to, I want to say age 18, 19. And what they do is these kids that normally would drop out of school, or these kids that normally would not meet the benchmark for being in the CTAE program, this is a kind of tool that we can put in our toolbox to work with these kids. And these kids have a mentor, and these kids are going to be working in the community. They're going to be working at the industrial sites. The city want to bring on some of these kids. And, you know, I've talked to Hilda Garrison. I have a meeting Friday morning at 9 o'clock with the Rural Initiative of Education for Great Promise this Friday. So, and I've also reached out with the superintendent. I'm also trying to champion my board of election, my board of education representatives as well. So hopefully, you know, we can generate some energy to understand that that's a barrier. You know, kids that are dropping out of school and kids that are not learning any technical skills or learning new work skills will be able to get these skills through the Great Promise program. And there'll be a little bit more incentive on making them stay into school. So I'm a big proponent of looking at barriers and not just looking at what the problem is, but coming up with real life solutions.